The late afternoon sun dipped low when the final lot came up at the auction. An adult bull, unregistered, weakened by sickness. The auctioneer wiped sweat from his brow and announced the animal with barely a hint of enthusiasm. The crowd fell silent. The bull crouched in the far corner of the pen, its coat thin and spotted with open wounds, ribs tracing the skin like an uneven road map. Its eyes, once fierce, now bore only quiet surrender. No fear, just a sorrow so vast it filled the dusty arena. No one moved. A few low bids curled into laughter at the idea of buying a creature that couldn't even serve for meat. Until a lone voice broke through. 80! The auctioneer paused, eyebrows raised, and declared, "Sold! For 80! What happened next would change everything. Juan had come only to accompany a friend. He stood among the few remaining onlookers when he felt it, a sudden tightening in his chest, as though the world had tilted and dropped him into that final moment. He stared at the bull and sensed a familiar ache, an echo of pain he couldn't fully place. It was a memory half seen through fog, a helplessness he thought had faded long ago. Without understanding why, he raised his hand and bid. He didn't know the bull's name, its past, or its future. He only knew he couldn't walk away. Something inside him recognized a kindred spirit in that shattered gaze, and in that instant, pity became purpose. Loading the bull into the back of Juan's truck was no easy feat. The animal slid and stumbled, its strength gone, and fell twice before the doors closed. Juan watched from the cab window, heart pounding as he saw the bull collapse again, foaming at the mouth. He drove in tense silence, every bump in the dirt road echoing his own uncertainty. Yet through the grime and exhaustion, the bull's eyes stayed open, dark pools reflecting hope as fragile as glass. As long as those eyes are alive, there's a chance. Juan whispered to himself, a vow cutting through the dusk. They arrived at the farm to find the corral empty and silent under the gathering twilight. Juan guided the bull down himself, speaking softly to do away with the animal's fear. He knelt beside him, wiping foam and dirt from its trembling muzzle with a rag. "You don't deserve to end this way," he murmured, voice low and steady. For all its misery, that first touch brought a spark of life back into the bull's chest. Even without a name, he felt a bond take root, inexplicable but real, a story waiting to unfold. Juan led the bull to a small paddock away from the others. He set out a drum of fresh water and mixed a nourishing mash of bran and fresh grass. The bull lay still, barely breathing, as Juan stepped back and dialed the number of Raul, an old friend and veterinarian known for handling the most hopeless cases. "There's an animal here that needs you," he said, and hung up, the hush of the evening pressing on his words. When Raul arrived at sunset, hat weathered and toolkit in hand, he moved around the bull with calm precision. He lifted the eyelid to check the eyes, probed wounds for infection, and counted ticks in the matted coat. "He's weak. Mange, ticks, infections everywhere," he said gravely. "I'm surprised he's still standing. I'd give him a few days, tops." Raoul shook his head, kipped a few samples, and handed Juan a clustered list of medications. Juan didn't reply. He simply stared at the animal, refusing to accept the verdict. Over the next 3 days, Juan became the bull's. The animal nibbled slowly on the grass Juan had scattered, and their eyes met, two survivors acknowledging each other's fight. That night, as he offered a bowl of fortified feed, Juan reached out and brushed his palm across the bull's broad forehead. The animal didn't flinch. "You are Jatobá," Juan said softly, the word tasting like ancient strength. Strong wood. With that naming, Juan sealed his promise. No surrender, no matter how steep the climb. Recovery was neither swift nor smooth. Some mornings Jatobá's breathing worsened. Other days his coat remained dull. Each sunrise, Juan placed a chair by the paddock fence and watched in silence, refusing to leave until dusk. The farmhands whispered that it was folly, or at best a sentimental quirk. Yet week by week, Jatobá's coat filled in, hairs glossy under the sun. His legs, once trembling, now carried him steadily from one end of the paddock to the other, as though stating his claim on life. One afternoon, Raoul returned and trussed his fingers along Jatobá's left flank, uncovering a faded but distinct brand. It wasn't a fight scar. It was an identification mark from a high-end bloodline. Letters and numbers peeked through the healed skin, a genetic signature meant to denote prize stock. The discovery sent a ripple through Juan's chest. Jatobá had a history unknown even to him. In the following days, Joanne fetched the auction papers he had tucked away in a leather folder. Lot number, sale seal, receipt. He handed them to Raoul, who compared them to the brand and nodded gravely. Then came the email from the genetic expert. Jatobá was purebred, descended from one of the region's most prestigious herds. A rare lineage fought lost to debts and abandonment, now living in a forgotten pen. Joanne felt the weight of that lineage as deeply as if it were his own blood. He thought of his son, abandoned by medicine, declared incurable, left to slip away. He felt the same indignation rise in his throat. No one could decide a life had no value. In that moment, the bull became more than an animal. He was a living mirror of Juan's own loss and determination. As Jatobá's strength returned, so did his stature. His coat gleamed like polished mahogany, muscles forming smooth ridges under the skin. He strode through the pasture with quiet dignity, and even the other bulls gave way in respect. Word spread quickly. A discarded bull of mysterious origin now roamed the fields with an air of authority. Breeders and curious onlookers came from farms near and far, eager to glimpse this marvel. Offers poured in, some promising prestige, others staggering sums of money. A renowned breeder arrived with a geneticist to inspect Jatobá, tempted by the chance to revive a rare line. They spoke of high fences, private pastures, impeccable care. But Juan only smiled and shook his head. "He's not for sale," he said. "He has his place here and I have mine." Then the media caught wind of the story. A local reporter snapped a photo of Jatobá in the golden light, standing tall against the fence. The article went viral in agricultural circles and beyond. Comments flooded from across the country and overseas, marveling at how a condemned beast had risen to greatness. Yet Juan brushed off the fame, focusing instead on each sunrise ritual: water, feed, a soft word or two. On a cloudy afternoon, Jatobá approached Juan as he rested against an old oak. The bull lowered his head, pressing it gently into Juan's shoulder. No sound passed between them, but in that silent embrace came a flood of meaning. Acceptance, gratitude, mutual healing. Juan closed his eyes and stayed still, letting the moment seal itself into memory. Now, consider how many lives we glance past. Broken dreams, battered spirits, cast aside as hopeless. How many stories lie buried before they begin? Because no one looked close enough. No one cared to fight. Jatobá's revival shows that sometimes saving a life isn't about grand gestures, but quiet faith and unwavering presence. If this story moved you, give it a like, subscribe for more, and share with someone who needs a spark of hope. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from, and let's prove that new beginnings can blossom anywhere.